Okay, we are live, and
Oh, hey.
Hi.
Devin and Ryan are going to vamp while I fix Facebook settings.
But
Damn.
Ryan, it's been a while. Tell me about you. What did I miss?
Uh, have you seen the news? I mean, you've been in the UK, so I mean, you know what's going on, right? Like everything's fine. Are you concerned about being back in the States or what? Concerned about? That's fun.
Yeah.
There you are.
My guess is that Hey, I heard you very, 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 very shortly. But that's okay. Because you know what? I am now and Alan said this earlier, I'm now closer to you guys. I'm very close to you guys. And my Wi-Fi and setup is much more difficult than when I'm literally across the ocean.
Yeah, I'd say so. That's why I hardwire my stuff.
Yeah. I think the router is like way, 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 way like in the basement. Like I don't know that I could actually realistically hardwire anything right
They
now.
make 100-foot cables. That's what I have. Just a
Oh,
cable
nice.
trailing
Wait,
on
where's
the
your?
floor.
How far is your router from where you are?
Oh, like 20 feet.
Oh, okay. I thought you were using like all 100 feet and it was like snaking out of windows and under cats.
No, I've got it wound up next to the desk because all they had was
Got
like
it.
10 feet, then they had 100 feet, so I just went for the 100 feet.
Gotcha. There we
Um,
go. So
but
what
yeah,
what did I miss about you? I heard you start to say something and then you robocized or I robocized, either one.
it's whatever. Just you being back in the U.S. What stuff were you looking forward to being back in the your home country?
Weirdly enough, I am very much looking forward to Taco Bell again. I heard the Taco Bell in Carlisle closed, so I have to find a new Taco Bell
I
to
think
call
that
my home.
they closed to remodel. They might be open again.
Yeah,
Ooh, I'll have to check. I just heard it was closed and saw like this empty husk of a building, but it might be open. So I'll have to check. I also went to Trader Joe's yesterday, and I missed Trader Joe's a lot.
it's such a
And
millennial.
all of you, I miss all of you. What do we have such a millennial? Trader Joe's is wonderful.
Almost every single one in our age group loves Trader Joe's. And to be perfectly honest, I go in there. I've only gone into a Trader Joe's once, and I was very underwhelmed.
But did you get everything but the bagel seasoning?
I didn't really buy anything.
Get out.
I don't need
Get
to
out
go
of
to
the
Trader
podcast.
Joe's for that. I
I
can get something very similar to it at Sam's Club.
But then you miss out on some of their like vaguely questionable branding, like
Again,
for all of their Mexican
I can
food,
get that
Trader
from
Jose.
I can get that from Sam's Club
That's fair. It's very fair.
or
Is there a Sam's Club
Costco,
around here?
Mechanicsburg.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Do I need to take you to Sam's Club? We've talked about this before.
We have talked about it. You know what? I just forget. Like I have blind spots for Sam's Club.
Tell you
It's
what,
weird.
if we're getting
Yes.
lunch Thursday, I'll take you to lunch at Sam's Club.
Oh, you treat me too well.
Stadium food. Stadium food. That's all that is.
Hey, Sam's Club has the best hot dogs.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
I don't know about that.
We'll
Speaking
find-
of, I can't wait.
We'll
for
find
next
out.
week.
Yeah, well, you'll find out next week. Maybe that's what I'll use.
Yes. Good. Good.
All right, I think we're good to go now since
Awesome.
I finally fixed all the settings. We're actually not talking about Morbius tonight. If that's what you tuned in for, sorry, that was
Oh.
last week. Tonight we got something else planned, so stay tuned to find out what that is. You guys ready to go?
I am so ready.
Okay, let me hit record on my audio. All right. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And today we are talking about the 1991 film Ernest Scared Stupid. This is Ryan's pick that he made Devin and I watch for the first time. But before we get into that, we like to start off the show with things that we've watched in pop culture, things that we watched this past week that we want to talk about. We all have something this time because
It's
somebody
weird.
was stuck on a flight for how long's the flight from London?
8 hours.
Stuck on a flight for 8 hours, and we're gonna talk about the things that he watched, and
I'm gonna be
That-
so disappointed.
we'll get to that. But first, Ryan, since this is kind of our Halloween episode, you watched a horror movie that I came very close to watching this past weekend. Tell
Yes.
us very little because I don't want to have anything spoiled from Barbarian.
Well, it is going to be very little.
Yeah.
Kristen watched Barbarian, said, "You need to see this." And I was like, okay, I guess I don't have a choice. She said, right, you don't have a choice. You're watching this movie. So we sat down and I watched it, and there is nothing really I can say except for I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really say anything else because
Okay.
there are so many twists and turns in the storyline
Yeah.
that I mean, it is, I will say this, it is not like, it's horror, you've got suspense, but it's more disturbing horror.
Okay.
And I'm starting to realize I think I kind of like that more than like the normal gore horror.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we're all pretty much in that boat, though, right? Like, Alan, I don't think you're too big of a fan of a lot of gore, right?
No. I mean,
I think I'm the same.
I like the Saw movies for two reasons. One, Costas Mandylor is an awesome dude that I got to work with. And two, I like them for the puzzles. Like, I like how they're all interconnected. I could do without the gore in those, but that's why I like those movies.
Sure.
Like, that's why I watched those movies back in the day. But yeah, not a huge fan of gore. I'm excited for this because I've heard very little details about it, but I've only heard good things. I mentioned that I almost watched this over the weekend. I showed the trailer to my wife to try to get her to see if she wanted to watch it. And I hadn't seen the trailer. I was avoiding everything. She's like, nah, I'm good. And I was like, I just watched the trailer and you're not even going to watch it with me now? So I'm letting it get out of my system, like trying to forget as much as I can from that trailer before I go back, and I'll probably watch it this week. This is on my list of movies to watch before the end of the year, so we can make our top list of the year. Which I'm going to start pulling from for some picks here soon. So.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. I'm excited to check that out. Devin, you had an 8-hour flight from London to Pennsylvania.
I did.
You talked about watching several things on that flight, including Lord of the Rings, Power of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
What else did we talk about last week?
Lord of the Rings. I was gonna watch the Game of Thrones show. I was gonna catch myself up on some movies that we had recommended on this show.
Okay. You have two things that you watched. One of them, I am more okay with you watching than the other, and I want you to, at the end of this, I want you to guess which one it is. So first up, you watch the Paul Thomas Anderson film Licorice Pizza. What did you think of this movie?
I loved it. I didn't know what it was about and just heard it, and I think it was up for an Emmy when we did our Emmys thing.
Oscars, yes.
Which is why it even like honed into my consciousness, and I was like, well, I'm gonna give this a shot. And I started watching. Was like, you know what? It was a good movie. It kept me entertained, kept me involved, kept me wanting to know what happened, and I liked the characters. It was a growing up story. There's not much for me to spoil about it. It was a growing up story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the point where one of them is literally still not grown up when they're like dating. So it.
Yeah.
I mean, I made myself watch this movie because of the Oscars, and this was one of my least favorite ones from last year.
Okay.
I mean, I appreciate the people in it; like they all did a good job. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman's son's pretty good in it. Bradley Cooper is
he is
pretty much. I think just playing Bradley Cooper, like I know who he's playing. He's playing the infamous producer who's always trying to get a giant mechanical spider into things in the 90s. I think we lost Devin.
Yeah, he does look a little frozen.
No, I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, you froze.
There you are.
You guys...
Hey, if your phone's on the Wi-Fi, I would probably turn that off.
Oh, it's off. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, we've done all the troubleshooting steps here.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay.
But yeah, so you didn't like this one as much, Alan. And
Correct.
Ryan, would you watch this one?
I just looked up, like I just Googled it. It took me a few times to get the spelling of licorice right, but
yeah.
yeah. I have to see more about it, and I'm sorry, Devin, but I have to listen to more people talk about it than just you guys.
That's totally fair.
I'm just,
Ryan,
I don't know that you'd like it, to be
yeah, I
entirely
don't think
honest.
you would like it. I don't think this is worth your time.
No.
But the other film that Devin watched, Devin, you want to tell the people at home?
Speaking of something that is worth your time, ladies and gentlemen, I watched Sonic 2.
yes. Good.
Uh,
I'm happy.
my goodness, this was a good movie. I wanted a comfy movie. I wanted a movie that I was just gonna, it just dumb popcorn, just smack me in the face with stupid stuff. It was so good, guys. Tails is adorable. Idris Elba as Knuckles is something that I didn't know that I wanted. And Jim Carrey just steals the show every time he's on screen. There's this whole subplot about Gun, which if you're like a Sonic fan, you're like, oh, Gun, that doesn't pay off and isn't good. And I don't like the subplot about Gun. But the rest of the movie, including Idris Elba and the rest of them, phenomenal. Loved it. I recommend it. Have you both seen it?
I have not.
I have.
Did you like it as well, Ryan?
I like the first one more, but the second
Okay.
one follows my theme of you get the first movie and then the second one is just like, hey, the first one worked out, let's just lean into the lore, into the fan service side of things and make a sequel, just like Ghostbusters 2 and other stuff. And that's what it is. If you're a fan of like the Sonic video games, you're gonna like Sonic. You're gonna like Sonic 2.
I'm always surprised at how quick the turnaround for this movie was, because Sonic 1 was right at the beginning of the pandemic. And then this came out this year. I'm like, I feel like Sonic 1 just came out a month ago.
They did just come out really, really
Yeah.
close together. That's not wrong.
Yeah, it was just about 2 years. Devin,
Wow.
which one do you think I'm upset with you for watching?
You're probably more upset with me for watching Licorice Pizza, is my
Yeah.
guess, because I
They-
think you're not mad about Sonic because Jim Carrey.
No, because Sonic 2 is like the quintessential, I'm going to watch this on an airplane film.
Yeah.
Licorice Pizza is not that.
No. Well,
But-
okay, so some of my choices were Top Gun Maverick and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I really want to watch those movies, but I don't want to watch them on a screen this big while there's a baby crying over there.
I'm glad you didn't watch those, because one, if not both of those, is on my list for the rest of the
I
year.
can't wait. I want to watch both of those so freaking badly.
Yeah. And I don't like Top Gun in a plane, just doesn't sit right. Like,
No, that would have freaked me out. Like, no thanks.
yeah,
That would have been fine.
you just land and you just hear Danger Zone, and
It would have either been the coolest thing or the scariest thing.
well, and then you find out Tom Cruise is your actual pilot, and then it's just
Oh no! What
all right. I've got
You
a few,
find that out as the plane starts to bank a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
he's just out on the plane. There's no cameras or anything. Like, he's like just standing on the wing. Like,
He's
what's
just
up?
out there because that's what he does.
All right. So I've got a few things. I've talked about this before on the show, and I needed to bring this up again for Devin.
Oh, no.
Atlanta's in its final season on FX, and they did an
Okay.
episode this week that you need to watch. So Atlanta is Donald Glover's show on FX that deals with I can't even describe the plot of the show, because it doesn't even focus on the main characters. The episode I want to talk about doesn't feature any of the main characters at all.
Weird.
But they've done some really cool things playing with the format this season. They did a whole episode where Zazie Beetz and her daughter, Donald Glover's character's daughter in the show, gets recruited by the not Tyler Perry film studio to be in like everything, and like just how like poking fun at how Tyler Perry makes all of his stuff in his studio in Atlanta. And then like Donald Glover is playing the Tyler Perry character.
Oh, amazing.
But this week they did a mockumentary about a 90s film that I think is right up. I can't even find I had it up and I lost it. Give me a second here.
Oh no.
It's about a 90s Disney film, and its effect on Black culture, and deep diving. Like, it's pretty much an analysis of this film and how it's been taken over, like how Black culture has embraced it, and it was so well done. I want you to guess which movie they were talking about.
First off, I'm gonna love this episode just based on that, but it's Aladdin.
Ryan, do you want to take a guess?
A 90s animated Disney movie?
Yes.
I'm just gonna throw a dart in the dark. Hercules.
A Goofy movie.
That makes more sense. Why
Yeah.
didn't I think of that?
Shoot.
Why didn't I think of
The
that?
episode is called "The Goof That Sat by the Door," and it's an in-depth look at the making of the American classic A Goofy Movie. It is phenomenal.
Is
It's
it
not
factual?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
at one point, the board of Disney like accidentally votes this guy as CEO, and then he just like makes all of these references in a Goofy movie, and like makes them very deep. And then they're like, "No, we're not going to do that. We're gonna replace this scene with the cop and Goofy and Max, and replace it with Bigfoot."
Good.
So it's very well done. Donald Glover directed it. As soon as I saw this, I was like, Devin needs to see this. Like, this is right up your alley because it's Disney.
So cool.
It's a satire on pop culture. This is right up your alley. But I cannot recommend this show enough to everyone. This is one of the contenders for my favorite shows of the year. There was another episode. They did an episode where somebody was going around assassinating rappers who did Crank That Soldier Boy videos back in the day.
Oh, that's amazing.
And there was another episode called, I want to get the name of it right, The Homeliest Little Horse, which has two plots going at the same time. And I was like, I don't know what this one plot has to do with the show at all. But it had one of the best payoffs of anything I've ever seen on television.
Oh, shoot.
So I highly recommend this show. And if you wanted to start with the Goof That Sat by the Door, you could. But
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay, because I mean, I know that you say that it's a very good show, and I think from like any still or any picture, it just seems like this very like self-serious drama. But then when you describe these things to me, it doesn't sound like that at all. And I can't tell if you're pitching me based on the fun or if like there's moments in this drama.
The show takes itself seriously, but it's so ridiculous. Like there's a whole episode where Donald Glover is in makeup and like prosthetics and looks kind of like Michael Jackson, and he's playing a character called Teddy Perkins. And he's like doing like a weird voice the whole time, and it's just bizarre, and you have no idea what's going on with this character, but the whole time, like, it's taking itself seriously. Like, it's well shot, it's well written, it's well, like, the performances are serious. It's not like making jokes and like looking at the camera.
Yeah,
it's just these ridiculous situations. Like this season opens with a character walking into a department store in the middle of a riot and like looting to return an instant pot, and like they're like, we can't help you right now, dude. And he goes to leave, and this woman's like, I'm not letting you get away with that. Like, you're not stealing that. Like, no, I have a receipt. Like, I'm trying to return it. And she then spends the whole episode chasing him on her scooter. And that's not even the weirdest part of the episode. You need to watch the show. Like,
I'd like it. I think I'd really like it.
But yeah, I cannot recommend Atlanta enough. And then something else that is a quick watch, and you could probably I watched most of this in a night, is Star Wars Tales of the Jedi.
Heard about this.
Ryan, have you seen this yet?
I've only heard about it once, and I had no idea about it.
Okay.
I just heard about it like 2 days ago.
So this is a 6 mini episode series. It's pretty much 6 short films about 2 Star Wars characters, Ahsoka Tano and Count Dooku, which are very different characters, but have very interesting stories to tell because both characters step away from the Jedi Order. So it's different. It's getting that story from 2 different angles, and both are very different, but both are just as powerful and so good. There's some of my favorite Star Wars is in this show, because this is all Dave Filoni, the guy who's behind the Clone Wars and has been doing the Mandalorian. This is his baby. Like he's establishing diving deep into these stories. He's taking a lot of what George Lucas taught him about the Jedi and putting it out there. Like he would always say, part of what made the Jedi like the peacekeepers is that when they go into a negotiation, they put their lightsaber on the table, and literally that's what Count Dooku does in his first episode. Like he walks in, puts his lightsaber on the table, and then like, okay, this is what's going to happen.
Wow.
There, if you want more Qui-Gon Jinn, you get it. Liam Neeson returns.
Cool.
You get to see a young Qui-Gon as Dooku's apprentice. You get to see certain angles of a certain film from Count Dooku's perspective.
Interesting.
The biggest sell that I can give you on the Dooku episodes. Yaddle. Do you know who Yaddle is? What?
It's the female Yoda, right?
Female Yoda. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in episode 1, and you get to learn a bit about her in this.
Interesting. What style is it in? Is it Clone Wars style?
Clone Wars style.
Filoni?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. How much bathrobe Dooku do we get?
None.
It's important to me.
None.
All right, I'm not watching it.
But you get you get a weird buddy cop thing with Dooku and Windu, which is
That's cool though. I like that.
Good cop, bad cop, or good cop gonna turn bad cop, I guess.
That's fair. No, I heard nothing but great things about this show, and I really want to watch it.
I think series like this that have so many characters can really benefit from these short form stories. I would love to see another season of this. There are so many, like if you're just doing Tales of the Jedi, like you could do so many things with this. You could do Luke post Jedi. You could do Yoda and the High Republic. You could do all kinds of different things with this, and I really am excited to see what they do with this going forward, because I think the positive reception means they're going to do more of these, because at the end of the day they can just make more toys. So
I'm interested in it, so I'll be picking it up at some point here soon.
Yeah, it's a quick watch too. So all right, I think that does it for the We Watch This segment of the show. Now it's time to get into the main subject of the night. Here on You Have to Watch This podcast, we make each other watch movies one or two of us have never seen before. This week it was Ryan's it was Ryan's turn to pick a film that one of us hadn't seen. And Ryan, what was your pick?
Ernest Scared Stupid. Which is a 1991 film. It is the 4th of the Ernest movies. And it was the last one that was produced, or at least under the umbrella of Disney. After this, all the ones that were made after was a independent company. We'll get into that later. I picked this movie because it is my favorite wholesome Halloween movie, I guess, to put it away. And Ernest was a big part of my childhood growing up. Just watching like Ernest, Ernest goes to camp, Ernest goes to jail, Ernest saves Christmas, like stuff like that. Um, and I didn't realize that neither of you guys had really seen any of his stuff. And so I was like, that's it, I'm doing it. Like I'm getting this out there. And so I know that neither of you had seen his stuff before. So how did you guys, like, how much did you know of him before, and how was your experience watching this movie as a full-fledged 30-year-old adult?
Devin, you go first.
First off, my history with Ernest is I knew nothing about him. I thought forever this was Ernest Borgnine, and just because they both have the name Ernest.
Who's that?
Would you like to fill him in?
Is this someone I should know?
I'm blanking. Yeah, he's a classic actor.
He's like a really he's one of those like faces that you see. He's in Marty. He's in The Dirty Dozen. He's in Airwolf. He's in The Poseidon Adventure.
Do you just
Like
listen to the
original
top?
ones?
You just listed the top 4 off his IMDb, didn't you?
100%. I did. I did not come prepared with that.
He was
If he was in The Dirty Dozen, he would not be age appropriate enough to be this character, Devin.
He is the voice of Mermaid Man on SpongeBob.
That makes sense. Okay.
So in my mind, I went, that guy's name's Ernest, and I know his last name. These movies are named Ernest. It's the same dude, not the same dude. So I learned a lot watching this movie.
Before we get off the subject of Ernest Borgnine,
Yeah.
he's my birthday buddy. Both born the
Oh,
same day.
that's adorable.
Congratulations.
So
Yes.
I didn't know this was a Disney thing. You told me this was a Disney thing just now. I didn't know how many Ernest movies there were until I looked it up. I knew nothing about this going in. I just knew that I've seen this picture, like the poster of like him coming out of a jack-o'-lantern. I've seen that before. That's it.
Okay.
For me, I've probably seen bits and pieces of this when it was on like Disney Channel, but I never sat down and watched the whole movie. I was aware of Jim Varney from like Toy Story and these, and the Beverly Hillbillies movie that they made in the 90s where he played Jed Clampett. But yeah, it never really appealed to me. Wasn't really my thing growing up, so.
Okay. So second part of the question, how was your experience watching this as a 30-year-old adult?
Okay, well, thanks, Devin. It was not as bad as I expected it to be. I have issues with it. There are parts of this film that don't age well.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, no, not at all.
There are parts of it that don't age as badly as they could have, because I think at the end of the day it was all in fun, but it's not for me. And I don't think that's the film's fault. I think this kind of humor was ruined for me by Larry the Cable Guy and like whatever his career tried to be in the early 2000s. Like hillbilly comedy is just not for me. I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay, you bring up a really good point that I want to dig into at some point. Like, is like at one point, yes, he does be like, I'm the redneck hero, but like his comedy isn't necessary. I mean, and I want to talk about that because it felt more like it was a character comedy. Like this felt more in line with like Hubie Halloween or like any Adam Sandler movie in the 90s, or to some degree like even Ace Ventura, where they're like, look at this stupid, silly man and let's put him in a situation. And like my guess is at one point silly, stupid man goes to jail. At one point I guess he's playing basketball. At one point he strikes again. It's just, let's get this character in these weird situations and go. And that feels very, very 90s to me. So in some ways, parts of this movie were really, really, really unexpected. And we'll talk about those parts a little bit later. But like the entire time I couldn't help thinking like, you know, as a 30-some-year-old adult watching this in 2022, like I know that I don't love this movie. But would that have changed if like 7-year-old Devin was introduced to this in like 95? Like if I was watching this mid 90s, mid
Well,
Yeah.
character comedies,
there we
like
go.
where this could be a classic Halloween one for me, I think. Like had I been introduced to this under any other circumstances.
Okay.
I will say what I was most impressed by in this movie was the prosthetics for the creatures.
Oh yeah.
Like that surprised me for a Disney kid movie budget. Like those creatures looked really good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is the only movie as an adult that I still watch. I try occasionally to go back and watch like Ernest Goes to Camp, Goes to Jail, Saves Christmas, and I can't get through them.
Oh wow.
As far as I'm concerned, this one has the best production value, and I think that's why I've still stuck with it and why I still watch it now as an adult. And it's purely just like it's because I loved it as a kid. That's why I watch it for no other reason. But I feel like to touch on the whole like when he says that he's like the redneck hope line.
Yeah.
If this is what like the Jeff Foxworthy like redneck comedy tour was like more of like this generic just like it's like workers humor, I think I might have liked it more. Like Larry the Cable Guy kind of turned the humor more into like more of a caricature and more of a one-liner than what like this was doing. But then again, that's also an evolution because like these movies came out late 80s, early 90s, and then that started in like the early millennium. So you had a good 10 years gap for that segment of humor to kind of evolve.
I will say this movie has a lot, like, it doesn't lean on him being a redneck as much as I expected it to be. Leaning on that. It's more of a physical comedy thing. Like, he's a great comedic actor. Like, he's phenomenal in this as that character. But I don't know if I have the desire to watch any more Ernest things, except I really want to see Ernest Goes to Splash Mountain, because that's a thing.
Okay. Yeah, no, Ernest Goes to Splash Mountain. I honestly had no idea about that one. Yeah. Okay. I honestly had no idea about the whole Splash Mountain one.
Yeah, I think it's like a straight to VHS thing because it's only 22 minutes, and it doesn't look like it's that high quality. But it's probably like the only way you can see Brer Rabbit anymore.
More than likely.
Because you know, if you're gonna take the characters from Song of the South and put them in something presentable in the 80s, it might as well be an Ernest thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's very funny.
So when it comes to the Ernest movies and which ones went straight to video and which ones didn't, the first 4 movies were made under Disney. And those are the ones that you mainly find on like the streaming services. Like Ernest Saves Christmas, that's on Disney Plus. You can actually find that one there. But after that, they were all pretty much straight to video. And even though this movie did make money at the box office, it made about $4 million. Disney still considered it a loss and got rid of it and just got rid of the rights to it. But yeah, so you talk about the prosthetics. So this is a movie that my wife and I do not agree on when it comes to childhood memories. I loved this movie when I was a kid. I watched it random times throughout the year. This movie didn't just give my wife nightmares when she was a kid. It also gave 2 of my 3 cousins nightmares when they were kids. So there's a lot of people who are in their like late to mid 30s who were kind of right at the right age to like catch these movies when we were young. When this movie gets brought up, there's an instant like, no, I hate that movie because of the troll makeup and prosthetics were done so well. But yeah, so you got that. Now I think this movie kind of set me up for the more physical slapstick humor
Mm-hmm.
throughout my life, and I think that this is, a earnest movie molded my taste in things. So, Alan, when it comes to like stuff like this, when to when you were a kid, what movie do you think that you could look back on and be like, this is probably what molded me for this aspect of my like taste?
Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy. Yeah.
Okay.
Devin's got the weirdest faces going on over there, frozen.
Yeah, there he is.
No,
I don't know it.
yeah. For me, it's Tommy Boy. I think just the sense of humor in that, and like the smart comments that like Chris Farley makes, and like just the physicality of that humor too, because that's also a very physical performance.
Yeah.
And then just like pretty much anything Chris Farley and Ace Ventura, for me, like that's the physical comedy that like Jim Carrey and Chris Farley both, I think, were huge influences for my taste in comedy in the 90s, because it wasn't even just Ace Ventura for Jim Carrey. It was also like Liar Liar. Like that's a very physical performance. And if you look at it on paper, that you wouldn't think it is, but he makes it that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I have to say, definitely partly for me when it comes to those characters, it's just, I think this movie got to me before those did. So I was already like in the vein of like slapstick physical comedy. And actually one of my favorite aspects of this movie particularly is when he goes into his characters, especially when he's talking about needing the high ground. And he goes through all of his different like dress up characters, and then the Jack pops out of under the car and smashes the mayor's back window. But
can we talk about some of those characters for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Devin keeps freezing. He looks very serious right now.
His blood pressure's got to be through the roof right now.
You know what's funny? Like, he's not coming through on the stream right now, but I guarantee his microphone's still picking him up, so he's probably talking over this right now. So, no, you weren't? Okay, cool. So wait, when you
very good about it.
When you freeze, you can still hear us?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, almost the whole time. Like I'm keeping up with all of this.
Good,
There's
good.
things I want to talk about. Dang it.
Okay, no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
We'll
you
get
go
to
ahead.
you. Yeah,
go.
Go.
You take it. You're working now. Let's. What do you want to talk about?
So I wanted to talk about, you guys were talking about the physical comedy involved
Yes.
in all of this, Jim Carrey. There is a very different kind of physical comedy involved here, specifically face acting that I wasn't ready for. What did that throw you guys off?
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to think of other examples of that. I mean, Jim Carrey's a good example of that too. Like he does that with some of his characters.
Yeah, and I feel like the amount of physical comedy in this is unique, though, with how much the camera goes up on his face and how much he moves his lips and his jaw and his eyes, and I feel like that contributes to him doing the multiple characters in some of the scenes.
Yeah.
Besides, I mean, to me, it didn't throw me off because I've been watching this since I was 6. I've been watching.
I want to hear what Devin's thoughts are on it.
Yeah.
This is rough. Apologies for the losing Devin. Hopefully he comes back here soon. I wanted to talk about the one character in that montage that doesn't age well, and that's the Ottoman.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got like semi blackface going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That. So I mean, yeah, most definitely that's the one part that like doesn't line up. In my mind, the way that I take that at this point is, one, knowing who this actor was, he didn't mean it in that direction. He was dressing up to look like an Ottoman, just like every other character he was doing. Today they wouldn't do it. Flat out, they wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it now if he was still alive, because he died in 2000. So
Yeah.
But still, it's not good. It's not a good look.
So hold on. Did you all know what does he have multiple personality disorder? Like, is that what that's showing, or is he just being silly?
It's being silly.
Because at one point when they were defending him, the kid goes, "Oh, great, I get the multiple personalities now." And I went, "Oh, is this disordered?"
I think it's debatable. I could see that as being
Yeah.
what's happening.
Well, I can definitely tell you that from my memories of the other movies, this is the only one that happens in.
What? That seemed like a tenet of the character.
From what I remember,
he's only triggered when he's scared, silly, or stupid.
Yeah.
I keep calling this Ernest Scared Silly, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's like a Mandela effect. Speaking of conspiracy theories and the Ernest movies, did Ernest invent the big singing bass thing? Because that's what I took away from this movie.
So I remember commercials at some point in the 90s for the singing bass.
Yeah.
I just don't remember how young I was when
98.
I saw it.
It came out in 98. This is 91. Did somebody look at this movie and be like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. And then like Jim Varney got none of the credit for it.
That part is unfortunate, but I really hope they did.
That's my head
It's a very real possibility.
It's my head canon.
It's a very real possibility. So, Devin, now that we can hear you and see your facial expressions, anything else?
Yeah. They wasted a lot of pizza. I got really mad about that.
Yeah, I know, but the kind of pizza,
doesn't matter.
Pizza that was,
do you know what that pizza was? Because IMDb blew my mind with that.
What was it?
That is leftover prop pizza from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze.
I love that.
Excellent. That's now connecting two of my favorite movies when I was a kid. So that just makes my heart grow bigger.
Oh, I absolutely love that. No, so before I watched this movie, I was ready to like just completely dump on it, right? And so I was like, I'm gonna see what the internet has to say about this.
Same here.
Did some IMDb. It's nothing but like great reviews on IMDb.
Yeah.
Yeah, people love this movie. Like this is like a stone cold classic, and I wasn't ready for that. I was ready for people to be like, this movie's stupid. I lost brain cells. I hated it. Like the worst I got was what you said. People said this gave me nightmares when I was a kid because the troll.
Yeah. Like Ernest was they were just good, silly movies for kids. And he was a good actor to do it. And I don't know why it resonates with me and so many other people the way that it does. I don't have a degree in psychology to figure that out. I'm sure other people do. But it's just something that like I think of Ernest and I think of the young, the dumb uncle at the family reunion that's good with the kids. But that's all they're good at. That's all they're
I think part of the reason I never got into Ernest is I had those people in my family. So it was kind of close to home.
Yeah. No, I could totally get that.
Yeah.
I mean, like most of my family, like they were living up by Chicago. Like, at that point, I lived close to St. Louis, Missouri. I mean, my dad, both of my parents had was white collar jobs. The jobs that my uncles and aunts had were kind of a mixture between like white and blue collar, but it was mainly like a white collar family.
Yeah.
And so like something like this, like I never looked down on the character when I was a kid. My parents never made me or made a comment to ever have me look down on someone because of what they do for a living. It was just one of those things where it was just I thought the humor was hysterical. Like you put me in that movie and I'm his like little sidekick friend kid. Like that's the way that I saw him. I
think for me, like my impression of Ernest has come from other things. Like the Simpsons have made fun of this a lot. Just to like I didn't look at this. I didn't search for this on its own, but I found this. Here are the list of Ernest movies in the Simpsons universe. Ernest needs a kidney. Ernest versus the Pope. Ernest goes to Broadway. Ernest goes straight to video. Ernest goes somewhere cheap.
Oh.
Yeah. No, that and in my one Star Trek group, on my birthday, I made a meme. Well, I didn't. I kind of made a meme. I found a meme that someone put Ernest's head on top of the Deep Space Nine space station, and they put over it Ernest goes to Deep Space Nine, and I put it up on the meme page, and I was like, I said, if I had one birthday wish, I would have wanted this to be an episode, just one episode.
Yeah.
And for a week, it became a theme of people making memes and inserting Ernest into Star Trek in some way. And it was just a week's worth of just Ernest memes.
Nice.
And everyone like bonding over it and bringing up Vern, which is a character that's not in Ernest Scared Stupid, which is a key part of if I remember correctly, because it's been a long time since I've seen it. Ernest Saves Christmas, and in those movies there's a character that you see from their point of view. You never see Vern, because Vern is you. So it's first person for that character, and he's supposedly Ernest's best friend, and he goes in on Christmas and basically destroys Vern's house or your house while he's putting up Christmas decorations, like pulling cables out of the wall and trying to fix the punch bowl and everything. So I mean, this is one of those things that's it's part of my childhood. I wanted to share it with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised of the comments I'm getting. I was expecting kind of this.
I think a lot of my impressions of this have been from like The Simpsons and Family Guy. Worth noting, there's an episode where Peter Griffin goes into Blockbuster 2 minutes before closing and has to choose between Ernest goes to the beach and Ernest doesn't go to the beach.
I mean, that's pretty much all it is. I mean, Devin was right. I mean, the whole niche of this character is let's just take this silly dumb character that means well and just put him in situations and see, and let's see what happens. I mean, Ernest Goes to Camp is probably the most tame because I think he becomes like the caretaker of a summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine that's kind of his element, to be perfectly honest. It's Ernest being a handyman at a summer camp.
Yeah. Real quick in the chat, David says, I love the part when after Ernest is fired and he's feeling sorry for himself, and then his dog Rimshot rips his pant leg, and then he says, I've never known one to quit. Ask my third grade teacher. And then they flash back to him in grade school. I did like those cutaways. Those were fun.
Yeah. And that's where I feel like the humor really works.
Mm-hmm.
And there are lines, and I shared this meme like 2 weeks. It really wasn't a meme. It was just screenshots of the troll going, you're going to pay for your forefathers. And then Ernest goes, I didn't have forefathers. I had one, and I didn't know him that well.
Mm-hmm.
Devin, any thoughts? You've been quiet for a while because you were cut out.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I think that if I had watched this as an earlier person or younger person, I would have liked this a lot. Also, I liked the music in it. Did you guys talk about the music at all? Because I missed that, and I actually kind of liked it.
We didn't talk about it, so.
I liked the troll theme. I liked the intro bit theme. That was very cool.
I find myself humming this randomly year round.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually really stupidly good.
Yeah.
I am blanking on what the music sounded like, but I will take your word for it.
I mean, it's in some ways it's kind of generic Halloween-y, but it's like the good kind of generic Halloween.
Yeah.
Like if you heard it on In Spirit, you'd be like, oh yeah, they're kicking.
Okay, so prior to me closing this out, for what I want to talk about, I just want to say that 1991 was a year where you could throw in, bullies that were antagonizing the three main kids, and one of them had a bowl cut, and that was intimidating.
Any other final thoughts on Ernest Scared Stupid?
Threatening hair. Hold on, Ryan. Were you expecting us to just crap on this movie the whole time, and were you expecting?
No.
Okay.
I was fully expecting you guys to go some legit. I told Kristen
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
I truly expect both of them to find things that don't really pan out that well anymore.
Sure.
I'm not expecting either of them to really like it. I'm expecting both of them to go, it's an okay kids movie. Like that's pretty much where I was on. You
Yeah.
know, it's like on this, but like this movie I discuss almost every year with people because I bring it up occasionally, and I always run into someone just like my wife who is just like, I hate that movie. It gave me nightmares.
Aw.
And
Do you
to
ever
this
turn them
day-
around?
I've had a few people watch it again because like the last time they watched it, they were like 10 or
Sure.
9, and they'll watch it again, and it's that whole thing. It's like it's a good kids movie. It's not that scary anymore. It's always a hassle. It's not always a hassle. It's the wrong word, but it's kind of a fight to get Kristen once a year to sit down and watch this.
On the opposite end, when I said to my wife we were watching this, she was like, "Oh, I haven't seen that in years. I used to watch that all the time as a kid." Her and her brother would watch that. Her and her brother would watch this and do puzzles. So.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
All right. Anything else?
No.
All right.
It was a good movie.
Do we want to talk a bit about next week?
It's gonna be bananas. We should warn people.
BANANAS. Yes. So next week we will not be. Devin will not be having the connectivity issues, because one of the few times we get to do this every year, we're going to be in the same room doing the podcast. Everyone's going to be over at my place. We will be celebrating the release of a film that is close to all of our hearts. Weird, the Al Yankovic story. And in true Weird Al fashion, it's gonna be an interesting show. We've got a lot of surprises planned. When you think Weird Al, there's one thing that he's known for, and that is parodies about food. So we're gonna lean into the food aspect of Weird Al next week. And Devin brought some treats over from London that he definitely claimed on his customs forms.
100%,
yes.
definitely.
We've got some we've got some American treats for Devin to try since he has been gone for a bit. There's a lot of things that he needs to try, and
Get reacquainted with.
this goes back to the UHF episode that we did a few years ago, where Ryan and I tried the hot dog Twinkies. Devin will be trying a hot dog Twinkie.
I can't wait.
So tune in for that. It's going to be a fun show, probably a little bit of a longer show, but same time, it will be on election day here in the States. So a little bit of counter programming before you go watch the results on the news. So it'll be a lot of fun. I can't wait. We're all going to be wearing Hawaiian shirts. I'm working on getting an accordion.
Wait.
Oh dear God, no. Dear God.
I'm kidding. I don't know anyone with an accordion.
What? Are we getting an accordion?
No.
Dang it.
I mean, if I can find one, yeah, I'll do it. But
I'll point you to one. I know where one lives.
But we have a lot of fun stuff planned before that. So make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram to check that out. You can also, if you're watching us on Twitch, go ahead and hit that follow button. If you're watching on Facebook, hit that like button and head over to our YouTube. Twitch is no longer storing our episodes for longer than a week. So if you want to get caught up on older episodes, you have to watch this podcast. You can watch them there. You can listen. You have to watch this podcast on all major podcasting platforms. I'm on like 4 hours of sleep, guys.
Oh, goodness, man.
You can listen to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can also visit our website, rumrunnerspodcastnetwork.com/you have to watch this pod, and check out all the other Rum Runners Podcast Network podcasts. If I say podcast one more time, I'm going to go cross-eyed. Until next week, for You Have to Watch This Podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And Devin, Albuquerque, go.
Way back when I was just a little bitty boy living in a box in the corner of the stairs of the basement, have a block down the street from Jerry's Bait Shop. You know the place. Well, anyway, I was living there. Everything was just peachy. Except, of course, an undeniable fact that every single morning my mother would feed me a big old bowl of sauerkraut for breakfast. A big bowl of sauerkraut every single morning. It was driving me
We'll see you next
crazy.
week.
So one day I went to my mom. I said, "Hey, Mom, what's up with all the sauerkraut, my dear?"
I'm gonna throw a bottle
looked
of
at me like,
Miak at him
"How?"
if he doesn't stop.